So, I'm guessing by now most people have heard about the Breonna Taylor verdict that of the three police officers who were accused of unlawfully executing Breonna Taylor, only one has been charged, though not charged with her actual murder, but actually firing a bullet into her neighbor's apartment. This is not surprising in many ways, and in fact, it makes sense. Perhaps one of the reasons I didn't get too invested in this because I sort of knew where this was going. But anyway, I just wanted to obviously her family has received a settlement of about $12 million from the state of Kentucky regarding her murder. However, there are many people who are demanding that the officers still be charged, and that hasn't happened. This is not shocking at all, really, but there are a lot of misinformation going around, and I thought maybe I should look at some of the facts of the case. First, let me say, no one deserves to die like that. Even that said, I think, one of the opinions that is heavily pushed mainly by the right wing is that, well, she cavorted with criminals, so she deserved to be killed that way. It is true, as the saying goes, show me your friends and I will tell you who you are, and, you should probably avoid bad company. Even so, I'm not sure that in what is generally considered a civilized country, that is a way for someone to be murdered or should be murdered. There's just something very rotten about it. Just because it's legal, it doesn't make it right. But here are some of the facts I learned about this case. So the report obtained by Louisville Courier-Journal, Louisville, Kentucky, contains phone conversations between several individuals and drug traffickers connected to Taylor and her former boyfriend, Jamarcus Glover, who is the main individual in question. So what the media has basically put out there, and also take in mind this journal, EV magazine, but what the media has put out there is that Taylor, a black EMT, that is to say emergency medical worker, was sleeping in her apartment when cops broke into her place, thinking it was a different apartment, and shot her in her sleep. And since people have been yelling, say her name, numerous celebrities, everyone from Kerry Washington to even George Clooney and various other people have been demanding justice for Breonna Taylor, seeing her as another victim of systemic racism and racist American cops. But here are some things that EV magazine has pointed out. Again, I don't think this justifies the way she was murdered, but here are some facts. So the police officers entered Taylor's apartment on March 13th, knocked loudly before entering the apartment, and began firing after Taylor's most recent boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, fired the first shot. Again, whose story is this? Officers' stray bullets hit Taylor in the hallway, leading to her death. That is the general consensus, that Kenneth Walker, the boyfriend, fired first. He was arrested, but later the charges were dropped against him. And this seemed to be justification for the cops firing. The news reports suggest the cops were plainclothes officers and they never announced themselves. And by the way, Walker's gun was also legal. So here is a summary of what appears in the report. The drug dealer police thought was Taylor's former boyfriend. Taylor's association with Glover was initially disputed according to the Louisville Courier-Journal, but according to the report, their association dates back to at least 2016, when cops asked Taylor about a dead body found in a rental car. She said she didn't know about it, but that Glover often drove her car. The dead man was the brother of an individual with whom Glover had been arrested numerous times. At the time, Taylor told the officer she had been dating Glover for 3 or 4 months. The report also notes that in 2017, Taylor posted bond for Glover on 2 pending cases. Jamarcus Glover called Breonna Taylor 26 times from jail between January 2016 and January 2020. The record also shows Glover called Taylor 26 times. On January 3rd, 2020, Glover told Taylor he planned to come over for the night. She replied, "When you're around, I stress more because I just always be worried about you, not like you with UNB. Assume that means bitches, but just period with the police, like all kinds of shit." They both end the call saying, "I love you." The police warrant had the correct address. Media reports initially questioned whether police had good reason to enter Taylor's apartment. No illicit cash and no drugs were found, and also Walker did not have a criminal background. The new report shows that officers suspected Glover may have used Taylor's address, where he also resided, to mail narcotics. On one occasion, detectives snapped pictures of Glover taking a suspected USPS package from Taylor's house to another location where detectives suspected the traffickers were keeping narcotics. Using a pole camera, detectives also observed Taylor's car parked numerous times outside a trap house, where Glover was discovered to be one of the narcotic suppliers. In one instance, while parked at the trap house, detectives observed Taylor herself step out of the passenger side of the vehicle, look around, and sit back inside the vehicle. Now, this is supposed to be proof that Taylor knew what her boyfriend was up to, and I will not give her the benefit of the doubt here. I think she did know that her boyfriend at the time was a drug dealer. Again, that doesn't mean she deserved to be murdered, but she did know. But, I don't want to get into it, but once I was at a party and I was offered a ride by a friend whose cousin was coming to pick her up, and once I got in the car, this cousin announced that he was going to make a pit stop, a detour, and he made a detour. And I was pretty certain that when he got out, that was a drug deal. And I'm saying, thinking about this, that at the time, I can't tell you his name because I don't know his name. And I'd never met him until that night when I was offered that ride, and I've not seen him since, and this was years ago. But imagine if I was caught in that situation by police officers. I would be guilty by association. And again, this is not to say I'm defending Taylor here, because I do think she knew what her boyfriend was up to. And I'm not certain if these incidents of her driving him to the trap house were after the body. Even so, there are reports that after the body was found, she was actually fired from her job as an EMT. I'm not sure how true that is. So there are also reports that Glover, Taylor's ex, actually made a phone call from jail asking where his money was located. Supposedly he said, "Bree been handling my money," noting she had like $8,000, that she was supposedly holding his drug deal money. This suggests that she was involved. The cops knocked loudly. This is the really disputed part, because this is their words. Their words that they knocked loudly. They had a no-knock search warrant for all 5 houses involved in this supposed drug trafficking group. They used cameras to compromise detectives in running away, but Taylor's house was considered a soft target since they knew Glover wasn't there, so officers decided beforehand that they would knock. So they knew that Glover wasn't there. According to Cornell law, no-knock warrants are search warrants authorizing police officers to enter certain premises without first knocking and announcing their presence. Such warrants are issued where an entry pursuant to the knock and announce rule. An announcement prior to entry would lead to the destruction of the objects for which the police are searching, or would compromise the safety of the police or another individual. The phone conversation records in the new report repeatedly indicate that police knocked loudly before coming in the door. A police briefing regarding the incident claimed that officers also identified themselves as police before entering the apartment, but again, they was beating on the door, Walker said during one of the recorded calls. So I guess that means the police, that they were banging against the door. But again, was that a knock, or did it sound like someone was trying to pummel down the door? We know they were plainclothes cops, and we know they didn't announce themselves as cops. So as far as he's concerned, it might have just been people trying to get in to hurt them. The officers wore plain clothes, according to the Courier-Journal, though CNN reported they were wearing tactical vests. At the beginning of the call, Walker indicates he thought it might have been a home invasion, which again makes sense. So y'all figured someone was trying to home invade y'all. Walker, that's what I thought. You feel me? Walker also indicated that officers didn't identify themselves before busting through the door. Breonna Taylor, was like, "Who is it?" And they ain't saying nothing. So she wasn't sleeping, which makes sense. It wouldn't make sense for her to be sleeping while these people were trying to bust down her door to get in. Walker fired the first shot, and the cops fired back. The police then used a battering ram to enter Taylor's house. Glover summarized the chain of events in one of his phone calls from jail. He shoots at the police, they shoot back, Bree in the hallway, and she gets killed. Walker's earlier account confirmed Glover's statement. The door light comes off like hinges. So I just let off one shot like I still can't see who it is or anything. Okay, so Walker, this is the current boyfriend, cannot see anything. He just knows someone is battering the door trying to get in, and he responds by firing. This seems like self-defense, especially if the police officers aren't saying who they are. Taylor was killed in the crossfire. So Taylor was shot 5 times, according to her death certificate, leading to the termination of police detective Brett Hankinson, who fired a total of 10 shots, a few of which hit the wall adjoining the next door apartment. So he is the one who was charged with the shots that went into the neighbor's apartment, but not for the actual killing of Taylor, which it was deemed justified. Kara Bradley, identified as the child's mother, so this is Breonna's mother, cast the blame for Taylor's death not on the officers but on Glover, the drug dealer. So again, this is by association. She knew who she had gotten involved with. That girl got killed over you, Bradley told him over a phone call the day of Taylor's death. Glover later shifted the blame to Walker, noting that he fired shots at the police. Walker lied about what happened. When Walker was arrested the night of the incident, the police asked him who had fired the gun, and Walker told them it was Taylor. Oh, wow. I had no reason to say it like I say, my gun is legal and everything, Walker said. Clearly I was scared. I don't know. So he did have a legal gun and a right to carry that gun. Walker's false testimony led to Taylor being incorrectly considered a suspect at first. It is a tragedy, and, you know, this is part of... So this kind of is a tragedy in more ways than one. We see that the grand jury decision announced by Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron, denounced by civil rights advocates as the latest miscarriage of justice in the U.S. Cameron said the 2 officers who shot Taylor used justified force under Kentucky law because they were returning fire. The city of Louisville has agreed to pay $12 million to Taylor's family to settle a wrongful death lawsuit. Anyway, this is a tragedy. I didn't expect the result to turn out anyway other than it did. But, you know, let me know what you think, and let me know what your thoughts are. And once again, I don't think that the way she was murdered was justified, but I feel as if the company you keep do in fact catch up to you. You knowingly keep. I do believe she did know who her ex-boyfriend was, and unfortunately that caught up to her. Yeah, so that is the Breonna Taylor case. Let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe to the Evanscape.